Hi everyone. There was this interesting post from Wolfgang that talked about a concept that I've been also thinking about is how do we get the agents to act more like agents rather than hard coding everything in every prompt. And so that got me thinking about how do we do this concept of meta prompting. It's almost like using the LLM, give it a goal, let it figure out the prompts, and then have it execute the prompts. Now, with a lot of these agent building tools, and especially Agent AI, you cannot dynamically switch the provider. So that, in some ways, is has to be predefined, like whether I'm going to use Claude or I'm going to use OpenAI. But I tried to do some of these other things, like could I define the role dynamically? Could I define exactly what that role should do dynamically? And so this is my attempt at building an agent that does something like this. And so to make it practical, um, I got this research paper in my inbox today, and I'm not technical and I have really no patience to read through 100 pages. But this topic is very interesting to me because I know what chain of thought is, and this concept of doing a meta chain of thought was very intriguing. And so instead of just loading this into an LLM and saying, hey, go summarize this or stuff like that, what I wanted to see was could I upload this to an LLM, give it like a high level objective, and then have it go figure out what tasks to do, delegate those tasks, execute them, and then bring the responses back. And so this is the agent I built. So, and I'm going to take you through this slowly because it's going to take some time. So, first one is I asked the question, what do you want to know from this research paper? Because what I might want to know might be very different than what somebody else wants to know. And so I want it to be flexible enough that anybody could say, I want to know uh, whatever's of interest. Somebody who's technical might want to know something very, very technical. And so that's kind of the first step. The next step then is to upload the research paper. Now, a couple things with this. Um, I cannot give a PDF to the web scraper. The web scraper only scrapes websites. It does not scrape PDFs. And the way the archive papers are written, they're all written in PDF. And so what I did was I downloaded it, and I'm basically here going and saying just upload the research PDF, which isn't that big. And this is where now it gets interesting. So I'm basically now saying that I'm creating a master planner agent that's responsible for taking that job to be done, whatever you wanted me to do, the input that I was providing, do against the research. And then I say break it into independent actions so that it can then be passed to downstream workers. And your role is to define the high level context and then make an educated guess on this. I tried playing around with it, then prompting the user back saying, based on what you wanted, let me ask you some questions. And then based on that, go, do something much more educated. But I couldn't get that to work yet. I assume, technically there's a way to do it, but it doesn't work. Um, and so what I'm doing is I'm basically saying your task is define what success looks like, and then make sure, what a successful outcome is, you know, again, as you can think about it, if somebody gives me any task, I would like to know what success looks like, what are the constraints, what assumptions there are. And so that gets passed. And then what I do is I then pass the job to be done, the input that you provided, the context, and the actual file. And I'm asking this themes extractor to then extract themes. And this is because, as you can imagine, there are certain key themes in this particular document based on what I'm interested in. I wanted to go pull out those relevant themes. And so far, if you look at it, you're like, this just seems like regular prompting. But what I'm doing is I'm setting it up so that now I can now go give it to a task decomposition planner. And the job of this is to take those themes that I found out and break them out into a list of independent tasks that can be executed by specialized workers. What you'll notice here is I am not telling it what those workers are. I'm not telling it what tasks they should do. And basically, I'm saying create a series of independent actionable tasks. And the reason for this is because it's going to run it in parallel. Each of them should be self-contained, assign a role for each one of them, and ensure that there are no more than 5 tasks. And put them into a Python list because then I can create a list object in Agent.ai that I can then pass to a for loop to then go through individually and then run each of these prompts. So basically, what this will do is it'll generate a prompt like this, which is basically you are a So it's identified three or four different personas that need to go three or four different tasks, gives them that persona, and then it gives them different tasks based on the themes and the context and what I want it to be done. And store it into a variable called role tasks. And then from that, as you can imagine, then after that, I'm looping through the role tasks, invoking Claude to then go and say, um, for each role task, that is this one, and then I'm passing it the research paper and basically executing that prompt. So this part is pretty straightforward, and then it kind of runs, loop through all of them. I store all the outputs to this task response list. And then at the end, I'm saying you now have a summarizer that is responsible for collecting all of this, organizing it, and then provide a structured output in some format that then gets shown to the user. So a couple things just to take you through the execution of this one by one. I'll first show you, I kind of put a stop over here just to show you what the tasks decomposition planner and stuff like that looks like. So here, if you notice, and again, the output looks like this. I just took and pasted it into ChatGPT, so it's much more readable. But you can see what it did, right? It's like this was the task I gave it. Explain a research paper to a business leader using examples. I want to understand core concepts and the practical applications in a way that can be communicated to a team. That was the prompt that I gave it. Here's a research paper. I'm a business leader. Explain this to me using examples so I can explain it to my team. And then what it did was it came up with success criteria. So it said that success is that successful completion of this task, it's effective in communication, it should be understandable by a business leader, should have examples, the output should be actionable because this is for a business leader. Again, it came up with all this. I did not define the success criteria. It just took this prompt and generated that. It generated these constraints, keep it concise, no technical jargon, assume varying level of knowledges. And again, all of this is very, very useful. And then there were some assumptions. Business leader has a basic understanding. As you can imagine, I could have prompted for these and I could have given more specific responses, which could have then be taken as input. Um, then these are the themes that it identified from the research paper based on the context that I provided. And so basically it talks about the chain of thought process, and how it improves decision making. There's this concept of inference time compute and verification, how it leads to more reliable AI systems in business. Then it talks about reinforcement learning and supports adaptive systems, blah, blah, blah. So it found those five themes from that document that were most relevant to the input that I gave it. And then this is the one where it now took each one of those and broke it up into tasks. So it basically said there's an evidence finder whose job is to go find this. There's a practical implications finder. There's a strategic applications advisor. So it created all these roles and these became the prompts that it provided. So again, just to show you at the end here, you can see the kind of prompts it creates. You are an evidence finder and your task is to find supporting evidence from the research paper for the meta chain of thought process theme and summarize the benefits for enhancing decision makings in business analytics in one paragraph. You are a practical implications finder. Your task is to illustrate how the inference time compute and verification theme can be applied to improve operational efficiency in a business context by minimizing errors and reducing human oversight. And so you can see what it did is that it took my prompt and basically took this paper and converted it into something, a series of prompts that can then be executed. The output, when I go run this, uh, I have to go troubleshoot this one, but you can see how I can at least go and decompose the tasks and return and kind of have the prompts done dynamically. Again, as you saw, I cannot go and change the LLM that I use, but the actual prompt that I'm using is a variable that is generated by this. Hope you found this useful. I'm happy to play around more with this and see where this goes, but I think this is going to be one way where a lot of the agent building tools like Agent AI will start allowing us to build agents which are more agentic than just workflow.